Hello and welcome back to the Zest YouTube channel. It's a very quick one today talking about exporting tickets. Now there's two ways to do this. As an agent, you can come in here and do it from the ticket list view here and export, or from reporting. So we're going to go through the two things today and then a couple of admin notes around what permissions people need to be able to actually see these buttons. So first of all, if you're using the default Freshservice agent permissions, then you will see export tickets is by default enabled for agents. That might be something you want to choose to only allow in certain circumstances, depending on your business. But in order for this to work in the ticket list view, the agent needs to have this permission. So it's part of the general agent permissions export tickets. When you do that, the export then shows up here. Now, this is only going to give you up to 6 months worth of data because that's what this view is maxing out at. If you need anything longer than that, you're going to have to be much more specific in your date ranges or go into reporting to do it. But generally, we like to keep our tickets nice and fresh. We shouldn't really have anything that's older than 6 months that we're exporting from this view. So it's super simple. I just pick a view. So let's say here's all my unassigned tickets at the moment. I hit export. I tell Fresh, so I'm exporting this view, which is the view here. If you want to learn more about views and setting up views and conditions, then go check out the other videos about that. I can then set my export format, CSV or Excel. Then how am I filtering those tickets? So am I looking for created time, resolved time, or closed time? So created time is the point the ticket was created. Resolved is the point the status was moved to resolved last. So if it's been removed to resolved multiple times, it's the most recent resolved time. And closed time is when it would move from resolved to closed. And then what's the time frame? So generally this is going to give you the last 30 days, and I can then go pick a date range here. Obviously the wider the date range you pick, with the more columns you pick, if you've got a lot of tickets, it's going to take a little while to export. But generally this is really good for doing very quick exports because you want to do something. And then all I have to do is go through and basically click on every field I want to export. Now this is showing me all the fields on a ticket, not necessarily all the fields I can see on a ticket. So for example, when we do setups for Freshservice and we are setting up what I would call system fields, so there might be certain fields that we're setting on a ticket that are generally hidden from the agent because we don't want the agent to see them or touch them. Like we don't care. But we need them to be able to tag or trigger workflows or filters and that sort of thing. Then what we tend to do is have them named with an underscore underneath. So for example, that's one of our system fields we've added with an underscore. So what you may see in here is far more than your agents see in the standard agent view, depending on how your business rules are set. So I just set what fields I want, set what date range I want. I'm just going to make it super easy for myself and then hit export. And then what Fresh is going to do is it's going to send me an email with a link to download, and they'll have my CSV attached. So that's way number one of exporting tickets. Way number two of exporting tickets needs slightly more permission. Now, a couple of months ago, obviously it depends on when you watch this video, a year ago, Fresh changed the way reporting permissions work. So it used to be that reporting was generally included as part of, so this is the default agent rule in Fresh. You can see there are no permissions for reporting here by default. So if you want your agents to be able to view and export reports, then they need to be able to be assigned these permissions. So if you haven't set up custom permissions for your instance, then you might find that people can't do this even if they watch the video. Or if you're watching this video and you can't do it, but you don't have the permission, you can't edit your own permissions even if you are the admin anymore, which is slightly annoying but completely practical from a security point of view, but not when you're adminning because you need another admin to do your thing. You need to make sure you've got permissions there to do that. So you might want to do is set up a custom role for reporting, and then you're giving that role to certain members of the team, or maybe your team leads and that sort of thing. So it's just something to think about before you go, hey, Roxanne, this doesn't work. It's like, need the permission to do it. And that did change. So obviously, this is my test instance. I have the permissions to come in here and look at reporting. So what I'm able to do, if I just take the curated view, for example, make it nice and easy, it's something that you would also have. Because this is the curated view in Freshservice. So I can see my curated view is telling me I've got 83 tickets here. So I can expand this out and go and have a look, and I can go look at underlying data. Now, again, export here is in multiple places. So it depends on the data that you want. If I want this ticket data, and I want a slightly wider range, I want slightly more complicated filters, I want slightly more than what the generic kind of last 30 days is going to give me, I'm going to come in here. Now, by default, this is giving me these 5 columns. Actually, what I want to do is I want slightly different columns on here. So what I need to do that is put this in edit mode. Back to underlying data. Can you see now here, edit column is now here. So depending on how many columns you've got and how big like your data set is, it might take a little while. For me, reporting sometimes a little bit slow, but from an IT point of view, understandably so. And I can hit edit column. Very simple. There's every single column that could possibly be here, including other bits of associations you get. When we talked about dashboards and ticket views, we talked about table extensions. You've got even more table extension options here because we're talking about associated assets, on-call notifications, escalations, approvals, all kinds of things that we might want to know about a ticket, and not just that, but then columns upon columns. So I can come in here, I can customize that export that I'm going to want down to changes, groups. I can look at like a group update, a group assignment time, for example, and that's going to give me more data on my report. Now, when I save this, it's going to save it for the next time, so I don't have to come back and change it again, but that's now my view that I'm going to get as an export if I choose to export it. So if I want just the raw data about a single tile on my report, I'm going to click on that tile, go to underlying data, make sure my columns are set the way I want them, more columns, more data, the longer it's going to take, and then I can hit export. So download now, render it in the browser and give you a download, or I can have it sent to email. So I just click on that, it'll then send me a link to download it afterwards, depending on how quickly I want it. So that's option number 1. If I want the underlying data, that's much more in-depth information about exporting ticket data out Fresh. The other option, if I go back to my view here, when I'm not in edit mode on my report, I can then export the whole report. Now, this is going to give me more of an export of what I can see in this report, almost more like a print preview than it is a ticket export. So if I click on export here, I've got a couple of options. I can either subscribe to this report. So I can say on a frequency basis, whatever that is, how many days of the week, at what time do I want to receive a PDF of this report? And what that's going to do, it's going to send me a PDF of each of these tabs. It's going to give me a print preview of basically my summary like this. So maybe that's what I want, because I want a quick overview that I can flick through in my email every day, or I'm going to send it to my CIO or whatever it is. So that's subscribe. Email now is going to do exactly the same thing, but it's just going to send me that PDF straight away, email it to me, or download it. And then I can say, well, actually, what do I want to download in my PDF report? Do I want everything, all my pages, or I just want certain ones? I'm going to hit download, and that's going to show up down there. And I can get the data out that way. But that's going to give me a summary of the data. It's not going to give me the underlying data. If I want the underlying data, I need to go into each tile and say export, either, set my columns, totally go in here and set my columns. And once I've already set them, I don't have to go all the way in. I can come in here and I can do exactly the same. I can subscribe to that tile. I can export that tile to email and I can get a CSV of the data or an XLS of the data, or I can export it out that way. And that will show me that kind of live view on the report, remembering that this report is not live. This report is 30 minutes behind what's going on in production right now. So if you are using it to manage live data, or you're actively looking at the queue and then trying to figure something out and the numbers don't match, they are 30 minutes apart. Obviously, depending where you are in that update cycle, they might be slightly closer together, but they're 25 to 30 minutes apart. So that is how you export data out of Fresh. You need to make sure you've got the permissions to do it. Most recent 30 days, easy columns, do it from the ticket list view. More complicated columns and more complicated filtering, you can do it from reporting. You can do it as reporting as a whole, reporting on specific tiles, reporting on CSVs, Excel, whatever it is. You can also do exports to Power BI. I'm not going to cover that right now, but hopefully that kind of answers most people's questions about exporting tickets. Cheers.
Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to stay up to date with the latest features and tutorials. If you or your organization need help with Freshservice, check out our consulting, implementation, training and support services at our website, zest.co.uk. Zest, a fresh perspective.